Welcome to our continuing YouTube video on employment law. My name's Christopher Neufeld of Neufeld Legal. And in this particular video, we will be focusing on long-term employees who have been terminated. And when we talk about long-term employees, we're talking about individuals who have been working at the same company for 10, 15, 20 or more years. And they've been working for an extended period of time. And now they've been terminated, and they're trying to deal with these termination and severance packages that they receive. Now, given the size and scope that these severance packages are, it's extremely important that you take the time to properly review them and to review them with legal counsel. And in many cases, what you'll find is that there are knowledgeable employment lawyers out there who will undertake this review because they know in most of these employment packages, unfortunately, there's errors, there's mistakes, there's inconsistencies that they might discern. And at the same time, truthfully, there are lawyers out there who will charge a fee and take the fee from you and say, I'll give you an assessment after I've taken the fee as to whether or not it's an employment package. Well, and then there's other lawyers who say, look, I'll review it and give you a property termination based on my perspective and let you know if there's a case or not. And they won't even charge you a fee for that. And the fact of the matter is, there is really, in my estimation, there's really no purpose on driving on something or presenting something initially if you're not going to be able to provide any real benefit to the person. That is just my own perspective. Furthermore, this is another important consideration that you have to consider, is that lawyers, and depending on the jurisdictions, experience, their insights, their knowledge of stuff, every lawyer might well have different angles and different perspectives that they take on a review and what they can discern. And admittedly, even myself, you're not going to necessarily pick up on everything that might be problematic or a basis for seeking additional compensation in a termination and severance package. That being said, that's why it's always valuable to consider actually talking to more than one lawyer. Like if the one lawyer is able to discern real issues and real positions that to move on, then you might well be good with that. They have to flesh it out, bring it out. And in part, what's going to happen is you might not necessarily get the full picture because they can't really say, I'm going to give you the full picture, give you the whole keys, and then you go to another lawyer and the other lawyer does the work. But what you might well find, and when you go and meet with these various lawyers, is one lawyer will take a position with respect to there are certain angles that we can see, and this is you're getting underpaid in this amount with respect to severance pay. You're getting underpaid with respect to your pension. You're getting underpaid with respect to your termination pay or whatever issue you have, your retirement buyout arrangements, share buybacks, you name it. There could be different aspects, and they'll talk to you in maybe sweeping broad terms without getting overly into how they proceed with establishing it. But what they'll be able to give you is their perspective as to where the numbers are and their confidence with respect to proceeding with those various approaches and where the challenges are, as well as where the positives are and the strengths in the argument, and giving you a real sense of even the difficulties associated with challenging these kind of termination and severance packages when they're offered to long-term employees who recently fired or dismissed from their job. So you want to be taking that on because there is all too often a considerable amount of money that can be left on the table if you don't look at this. And the worst thing would be is that if you take it in a happenstance mode and then you find out afterwards, especially if you sign off on their requested releases, that there's not much more you can do, or it's going to be very difficult pulling it back when you could have negotiated before and potentially got something considerably more. And when we're talking about more, we're potentially talking about tens of thousands of dollars. And in some cases, we could be talking about in excess of $100,000 more in pay that could be achieved. Now, the facts and circumstances are going to dictate what is achievable and where the whole case lies. But when we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars and sometimes in excess of $100,000 of money that can be addressed in proper negotiations and proper legal action in furtherance of a long-term employee's termination and severance package, we're talking about a considerable amount of money there. And it reflects the importance of simply not relying upon the internet, and even likewise not relying simply upon the family lawyer who is not necessarily altogether familiar with all the nuanced aspects that other lawyers who have a more practical understanding of what has to be dealt with need to deal with on these cases. So that is what you really got to understand and what you really should be looking for. Because at the end of the day, oftentimes what you can say is, this is money that in many respects is legally entitled to yourself. But the only way you get your legal entitlements is if you ask for it and you pursue it, and you might have to be somewhat aggressive on it. Because whether or not the employer knows that they owe you that money, it is ultimately up to yourself to make the determination and push to get that money. Because if you don't push for it, and whether the employer is ignorant as to it or purposely trying to avoid paying you it, it doesn't fall upon them to push to get the money. It actually falls upon you to get that money. So you got to take the initiative, and you should really get that legal counsel that we are strongly suggesting you pursue, because it is money that you have earned in many respects through the hard work that you've done for the company. And if you are in fact legally entitled to it and you can legally secure it, why should you be leaving it on the table and not taking it, especially for long-term employees where this is going to be possibly one of the last major points of employment that they're doing. The only time they're probably going to get something is if they work another 10, 15, 20 years in another employer. But by that time, they're going to be 70, 80 years old maybe, right? So you don't want to be pushing on that. You want to be dealing with it now, and you want to get the money that you are properly entitled to, or that your lawyer might otherwise be able to secure for yourself. So I hope you found this YouTube video informative. If you're looking to address these kind of situations, get the kind of insights and opinions that we talked about in this video, please do not hesitate to contact myself. You've got the website address at the bottom of the page, but more importantly, if you go into the video information, you'll find also our direct contact information, and feel free to contact myself, and we'll look to see what we can do subject to the restrictions we have to deal with based on jurisdictions, legal outcomes, all the like. Okay, all the best, and wishing you all the best in your continued advancement of your professional career. Thank you.